Hola, mis amigos, ¿cómo están? I hope you all are doing well today. In this lesson, we're going to be looking a little bit deeper at our indirect object pronouns. In short, our IOPs. So, good thing is, you actually already know them, right? Of course, we have me, which is to me, te, which is to you, le, as we know, means to him, to her, or to you formal, nos, which is to us, and then les, which is either to them or to you all. So far, we have learned how to use the indirect object with verbs like gustar. And here today, we are going to learn how to understand and use the indirect object in other sentences as well. So let's take a look at this example down below here. We have the sentence that says, I give the gift, and then we see to him here, right? So in this sentence, the to him is the indirect object. And you may ask yourself, why? Well, if we remember, the IOP, friends, answers the question, ready? To whom or for whom. And in this sense, him, he is the one receiving the gift. Okay, we'll expand upon it. So just as we mentioned, right, that indirect object receives the action of the verb, and here's where the indirect part comes because it receives it indirectly. It answers that question, as we know, either to whom or for whom. So in order to have an indirect object in a sentence, there must be what we know as a direct object, either real or implied. In the previous example, the gift is the direct object, okay? We can look at another one here. If I wanted to say, she sings a song for me, right? We could also replace for with to, so to me. The indirect object, the person that is receiving that action indirectly, that would be me, right? The direct object, the thing that is being given to me, we're going to see that as a song, okay? So for me, I am the receiver, indirect object, and the song is the direct object. Okay, we'll look at a few more examples as we continue. So we're going to look at where exactly that indirect object pronoun can be placed. And there are, in fact, two positions in a sentence or phrase. We're only going to be looking at one within these notes. And that position, friends, is coming directly before the first verb. So muy importante here, super important, directly before that first verb, either in a sentence or a question. So let's take a look at these three examples down here and see what we find. Well, the first sentence says, Carlos me escribe una carta. We see our translation right here beside it. Carlos writes a letter to me. However, let's break it down for a second. Who is doing the action here? Who is the subject of the sentence? Okay, so we see that that is Carlos, right? And that's why the verb matches Carlos because he is the one that is doing the action, right? So Carlos me escribe una carta. So what is Carlos writing? We can see over here that it is a letter. So this is our direct object. And then finally, friends, the person being affected, that is me. He is writing a letter to me. And we notice here that my IOP is coming directly before, check it out, that first verb. So I'm going to write up here, Carlos is the subject, me is the IOP. Escribe, verb that matches subject, okay? And then finally, una carta is the direct object. All right? Cool. So it's always going to follow this. This IOP is going to come always directly before this first verb, at least in what we're learning now, okay? As we mentioned, there is one other position, but we'll cross that bridge at a later time. So if we look down here at the second sentence, it's extremely similar. The only difference, in fact, is that person being affected. So Carlos te escribe una carta is Carlos writes a letter, are you ready? To you. That's why we see our te. Carlos nos escribe una carta, or Carlos writes a letter to us. Nos escribe. Notice how that IOP falls in line before that verb every time. Okay? Again, we're still working with the same IOPs that we've learned. We're just finally able to use them in bigger sentences. So let's create one on our own here and see what we can do with that. As I said in the sentence preview, she sings a song for me or to me. Let's create that. I'm going to write it over here in English. She sings a song, and we'll just change it to me. That's what I want to see. You can take a pause, try to follow these steps that you see up here, and then hit play to see if you are correct, but I do want this added to your notes. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give this sentence myself. So here we go. So she sings a song to me. My subject comes first, which of course is ella. Now, sings a song to me. I can't put sings next because I know that my IOP has to come before that first verb. And so the person being affected here is to me. So me is my IOP. So ella me, now my verb, because my IOP comes before, cantar, and I conjugate it as canta. Ella me canta. And finally, my direct object. What is she singing to me? Well, she is singing a song or una canción. And there you have it, folks. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have questions. In the next video, we're going to be looking at le and les. Adios, amigos. Ciao.